Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by thesoberclub.com. I'm Janey Grace. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Hi and welcome to the podcast. I hope you're well. My God, I wish the sun would come out. I'm so sick of it. Rain again. It's like constantly. I need some sunshine. It's meant to be spring. Big thank you to everyone who has messaged me recently and sent me lots of, just nice messages. I seem to have had a lot of them lately saying about how much the podcast has helped you, or Sober Club members who've said nice things. And it just makes a difference, doesn't it? It's really nice when people say nice stuff. So if there's someone you need to say something nice to, then go ahead and do it. You have my permission. So I've got a great guest for you today. Really thrilled that we're going to be talking to Kathryn Elliott from Australia. I'm so fascinated by the whole scene over there. And Kathryn is one of the leading lights in the alcohol recovery coaching arena in Australia. She's also going to be sharing her experience of being diagnosed with breast cancer, and she's going to be very outspoken, about that link between alcohol and cancer that we just don't like to think about. We really don't. And when I think back to just how in denial I was all those years ago about alcohol being linked to any kind of health issues, it seems crazy to me now. But anyways, I hope you're going to really enjoy that interview with Kathryn. And I just want to remind you of a few events that are happening. First off, April the 10th, really hope some of you can come to London to the Club Soda alcohol-free bar. Wednesday, the 10th of April, we've got a special meetup and a little bit of a party, really. And we've got a live podcast recording. So I'm going to record the podcast. I mean, it's not live. The event is live and the podcast will be recorded and then you get a chance to hear it. And my special guest is Michael Sargood, happy without the hooch. Hopefully I've got another special guest as well to be confirmed, but we're going to have a great time, and it would be really lovely to see you. There are always fun events. It's quite a small space, so tickets tend to sell out fast. So if you can come, please do join us. Just go to thesoberclub.com and click on events, and that will take you through to the link to get tickets for that night, Wednesday, 10th of April. Just make that trip to London. It'd be really great to see you there. And then on Saturday, the 20th of April, we've got a Spring into Clarity Day in Hertfordshire, which again, love it if you could come to that workshop. It's a one-day workshop all about focusing on you and what it is you want. Last weekend on Mother's Day, I was doing something for a charity, Empower Her, a really unique charity who support young girls who've experienced the loss of their mothers. They're really an amazing charity, and I was just one tiny part of it, offering a little mini vision board workshop. And it was just so lovely, though. It was so amazing to see these girls kind of focus on what they want and focus on what they want to kind of bring to the front of their thinking, if you like. So it's just so amazing when you recognize that that's how the unconscious mind works. We get more of what we focus on, and they created some fabulous vision boards, and I've told them they absolutely have to let me know when some of the things on those vision boards come true, which I have no doubt they will. So come along to our vision board day on Saturday, April 20th. We're going to take a look at some limiting beliefs. We're going to do some work around how you can really get clarity on what you want, because we don't always know. So if you're thinking to yourself, God, that would be great, but I really don't know what I want, then that's not uncommon, actually. But we're going to look at that. We're going to check in with what limiting beliefs might be holding you back. We're going to create a vision board. There's a little bit of one-to-one kind of breakthrough coaching in there. And hopefully you'll leave with a kind of magic map for moving forward. It doesn't matter if you've been sober for years, or if you're sober curious, or if you've really just kind of come across this. You're very welcome. And you can do this day for yourself, purely for you and what you want, or you can do it for your business. If you're just starting out in business, it's actually a fantastic thing to do. So it's a very small group. So again, let us know if you want to be part of that. You can message me, or again, go to thesoberclub.com and click on events for Saturday, 20th of April in Hertfordshire. And then on Sunday, 21st, we've got a family constellations workshop. It's at the same venue in Hertfordshire. So if you did want to do 2 days, I'll do you a discount on both. But if you just want to come for constellations, that's also fine. Again, a 1-day workshop. Not the easiest to explain, but come with an open mind. It's really, really amazing. Really is. I want to read you this message that came up in the Sober Club this week in our private group. Someone posted this message. I won't name her, but I just thought this was such a lovely post to write. So she said, it's my 1-year sober anniversary today. 1 year today, I started my magical mystery tour. I call it that because there has and continues to be so many hidden gems and discoveries on my journey so far. Posting just some of these now because I've found that reading these things from our fabulous club members has been such a help for me this past year. So thank you. So here's her bullet points. I finally like myself. My inner critic has previously been off the scale. Better relationships with everyone in my life, family, friends, and colleagues. I have so much more resilience, confidence, and self-belief. So much more energy. I love my home, all this extra time and confidence to play around with ideas and organize. I dress better, a little bit more time and self-respect to care. I've got improved eyesight. Who knew? Me too, by the way. Better skin, hair, and I'm fitter. I didn't lose weight initially. That wasn't a priority for me, but I have done so over the year and I'm much fitter now. I'm sure that's helped as I move around more. I don't sleep in at weekends feeling rough and then trying to make things better with a raft of carb-tastic junk eating. And I could go on. Ultimately, I'm infinitely happier. I'm excited for the future. She says, thank you all once again. And if anyone is struggling, I really just hope that some of the above points might help keep you motivated. And I'm saving the very best to last. Thank you, Janey Grace. Your work, support and drive has been the driving force behind me turning my life around. I continue to listen to the podcasts and inspiration and love being part of this club. Forever grateful. Isn't that amazing? I just love it. I just love it when people document the super exciting bits of this journey. So if you haven't started yet, if you're sober, even if you've only been sober for a few days, start writing down little things that you notice. Just keep that little journal, that blessings list, as I sometimes call it. Try and write down 5 things every day that you notice from being sober, things that you probably wouldn't have noticed if you were still drinking. And that's how you start to kind of repopulate that side of the brain that links these positive associations with being alcohol free. So that's your little bit of homework. As promised, Kathryn. I'm delighted that my guest is Kathryn Elliott, one of Australia's leading specialist alcohol and binge drinking coaches. Very interested in that bit, the binge drinking, Kathryn, for high functioning professionals. This is going to be such an interesting chat. We'll get into some of the work you do, Kathryn, in a moment. But what I'd really just love to ask you first is what is the scene like in Australia? Because, you mentioned the word binge drinking and I immediately think of Australians, which is terrible typecasting, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's an area that we're well known all around the world for, is our excessive binge drinking culture. And very much it is a culture that I grew up in as well in the 90s. Excessive drinking, binge drinking was just a way of life, and it was one that we were encouraged to participate in too. And I think although the culture has changed and shifted in the last 5 or 10 years, particularly in that younger demographic, it's my demographic that has the binge drinking hangover, right? We are still drinking like we were in our 20s and 30s. A lot of, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds really still have this idea that drinking excessively is kind of a cool thing to do, and that you're not really much fun if you don't drink.
Absolutely. Okay, let's go back to you then. Tell us a bit about your background, a little bit about your story. What was going on for you all those years ago?
Yeah, so I started drinking at about 14 or 15. in the late 1980s in Australia. And I think it was very typical the way I started drinking. I stole some alcohol out of my parents', drinks cabinet with a girlfriend, and we just started drinking. We also got a packet of cigarettes and smoked all of those. And I remember thinking on that first night that I drank, oh, wow, that feeling of losing control feels really exciting. There was something about it that I really enjoyed. And I didn't start binge drinking straight away, but I got a taste for it. There was something about it that felt like I was rebelling or doing something I shouldn't have been doing. And I liked that. We stole some gin from my parents, and I just filled up the gin bottle with water, and nothing was ever said about it. So it felt like I'd got away with taking it as well. And so I probably was when I was 16 that I started to drink more regularly. And what became very apparent then was that I could drink a lot for a girl. I had a large capacity to drink. I didn't get sick, and I got a lot of positive affirmation about my drinking from my friends, but also from the men who I was friends with, and that made me feel good about myself. I thought, well, this is pretty good that they think I'm a good drinker. And so
you keep up with the lads.
Always I felt like I had to live up to that reputation. And so I'd always stay out later. I'd always be the last one standing with the boys, drinking with the boys. And the other thing that I had was that I didn't really get hangovers that were horrendous. So I could bounce back. And that to me was sort of like, oh, well, I was proving something to myself, that I could drink and stay out, and then I could get up the next morning and go for a run. And so that was how it started. But there were cracks in the early days, because I started to have blackouts quite early on, when I was 16, 17, 18, and had them quite regularly. And they were really scary for me because I wouldn't remember large parts of nights. I'd end up saying things to people that I really regretted, or I would have huge fights with, my boyfriend at the time, and wake up the next morning and not be able to understand what had happened. And so there was a part of me that was thinking, this drinking does have a side to it that isn't great for you. But what I saw all around me in Australian culture was all of the people my age I felt were drinking a lot.
Yeah, that's what everyone does.
No one who was questioning it at all.
Yeah.
And I didn't really question my drinking, I guess, really seriously until I was in my 30s after I'd had children.
Right. So what was the change then? What kickstarted the change for you?
I think I was on a bit of a deeper spiritual journey that started in my 30s. I started asking questions about, who I am, who am I, what am I here to do in life, what is my purpose? It felt like there was something deeper I was meant to be here to do, and I didn't know what it was. So there was a bit of a void. I started doing some more personal development. I started doing some yoga. I started getting into contact more with my body and what it felt like to be in my body. And so I was very interested in all of what was opening up to me. I started, a practice of meditation, and it seemed like here was this world where I was really starting to go into some personal development, but yet on the other hand, I was still getting wasted on weekends. And it just felt like my values were clashing, and it felt like I didn't know who I was. What is my identity? Who do I want to be? And so there was this clash that I was constantly sort of bumping into myself. And when I had children, it felt even more like that. There'd be days I'd wake up, with really bad hangovers, and getting up to my, beautiful little babies and feeling like I was not role modeling to them a very good way of living.
Yeah.
And I didn't stop drinking then, though. It was really very much this issue that I had constantly was I can't imagine a life without alcohol. That is not going to be my life. I'm going to have to find a way to moderate. How do I do that? Is there something wrong with me? Am I normal?
Can I just interrupt you there for a moment? It sounds very, very similar to my story. And what I'm interested in is at that time when you were having all those thoughts of, you know, how will I do this? Am I normal? I'm guessing you didn't know anybody else who was the same, as it were. I'm guessing it seemed to you that everyone else was completely fine drinking, or they were completely at rock bottom.
Yes, it felt like I knew that I was probably on that spectrum of some in my group of friends of the person who probably was more of a binge drinker. There were a couple of other people who were on the same probably trajectory as I was, but it was kind of like this unspoken. It was unspoken. We didn't talk about the shame of the next day. It was very much, oh, we had a big night and, you know, didn't feel great, but it was avoided. And I think it was avoided because you kind of just wanted it to fly under the radar. And then what I realized as well is that there were other people who were drinking who would just have one or two drinks and that would be fine. And that was not me. I was always that person who was worried about, am I going to have enough? Why aren't they pouring my drinks fast enough? Why have they given me a glass that's this full? I want one this full. You know, It was all of these thoughts that were going on in my mind. But of course, I wasn't a daily drinker. I didn't drink 4 days of the week often, or 5 days. But when I drank, I had benders. And it was like once I got alcohol into my system and I drank quickly, there was no off switch. And that was really a dangerous type of drinking, but also a type of drinking in my circles and in Australian culture that had been accepted and normalized. And you were told, you know what, you only do it that once or twice, you know, a month. That's actually not a problem. You don't really have an issue. And so I never felt that I had an issue that was bad enough to stop drinking.
So what changed? How did you stop?
So there were two incidents that happened in my life. One was I was a bridesmaid at my younger brother's wedding and I got very drunk and caused a scene with my mum, which was really embarrassing. I was really rude and aggressive and I fell over and I woke up the next morning and I felt like I'd had a nightmare, a dream about it, that it had happened. And I had that feeling of, oh, you know, thank God it didn't happen. And then I realized that it had happened and I couldn't piece it all together. And I felt so ashamed and embarrassed that I had behaved in that way and that my mum would have that memory of her son's wedding. And then that was one event. And then another event was my 3 sons seeing me absolutely blind drunk on a holiday. We were out with another family and I drank some cocktails very quickly and then fell back and hit my head. And I was like that, you know, that dead weight drunk where you just, you know, and my kids thought I died. And the next morning I woke up and I couldn't remember what had happened.
Yeah.
And they were mortified. They said, Mummy, we thought you were dead. That was so scary.
Wow.
And that was the moment where I thought to myself, who do you want to be?
Yeah.
Who do you want to be from this point forward? And I didn't stop drinking on that day, but I did not have another binge. Actually, I stopped drinking for a month and then I went back and had a couple of drinks. And then I decided on the 1st of July of 2019 that I was going to take an extended break from drinking with no date to go back to drinking and that I was going to embrace an alcohol-free life and see what it
That's
had
the
for
key,
me.
isn't it? Because, you know, you're right that I mean, I had similar, I don't think I had quite, I'm not sure I had quite the same situations, but there were definitely times when I felt tremendous shame over, the way I handled stuff with my kids. I mean, that's my only regret, is that I didn't do this sooner. But we have people have these moments. There'll be so many people really identify with this, these moments that they feel such shame about, and they know something has to change, but it still feels terrifying, or it still feels impossible. And so the thought is, I have to stop. I'm going to have to stop, but I don't want to. And then, so as you say, when you can change that mindset and embrace it, that's the key, isn't it?
It really was. And you know what? There was a bit of relief in that finally I had let go.
Yeah.
I had pushed myself off into the unknown, and that in there I was going to find something, and I didn't know what that was. And I think there wasn't a huge expectation about what that would be, but what I did know for sure was that what I'd been doing for the last 10 or 15 years, when I'd been trying different moderation tactics and techniques, taking months off here and there, trying to count how many drinks I'd have, none
that doesn't
of
work.
that worked.
No.
And it didn't make me happy, because even when I had 2 drinks, I was sitting there feeling really frustrated, thinking, I'm not happy. I want more than that. And I'm annoyed now.
Yeah.
So living like that isn't good either. And so it was, the 1st of July, I remember waking up that day. I was a little bit hungover because I did finish my drinking career.
You had your last hurrah.
I did have it.
Yeah.
But interestingly, it wasn't a social hurrah. It was at home, and I was watching sport. I really love AFL football, which is very popular here. And I drank wine and watched a game. But I remember going to bed that night feeling a bit hazy, but feeling exhausted, and just thinking, I actually can't wait now. I am looking forward. I've drawn the line in the sand. And so that's nearly, I'm coming up to 5 years in July this year.
Fantastic. And how did your friends take it then at the beginning? How was it when you were socializing, when previously you'd have been, binge drinking, Kath? How did they accommodate that?
I think they thought that I would probably go back to drinking at some point, or that it was a phase, because I did often take a month or 2 away from drinking. And so I think there was always this thought, potentially I would go back to drinking, or that I would, I guess, if I didn't go back to drinking in that sort of 6 months, that it may happen, in a couple of years. There was no real, I think my friends did not think that this was going to be a long-term proposition. I really did. In myself, I felt fairly convinced, because I joined, a community with This Naked Mind in the early days, and that really helped me see that there were millions of people all over the world who were struggling with their relationship.
Isn't it amazing when that sober world opens up to you that you didn't even know was there?
Oh my gosh, you had no idea it was there. And then you felt really seen and heard and understood, and you could see that so many people had different stories, were in different phases in their relationship with alcohol, but people were struggling, really struggling. So then I thought, you know what, there's nothing actually wrong with me. To question it and to do something about it is actually really a courageous thing to do, particularly in a culture where you are surrounded by drinking messages everywhere you go. And so that was another thing that came to me early on. I thought, you know what, you're a rebel in your own way, because
exactly
you were doing something
exactly that
special.
It's really true. I mean, when I some of the coaches that I work with, we talk about how difficult it can be for different sort of personality types to stop drinking. And lots of people are people pleasers, aren't they? And they want to drink because they want to make other people feel okay. Literally, they'll go out and other people will want them to drink, so they'll end up drinking even though they don't want to, you know. And but then, as you say, there are some people who are quite rebellious by nature, and alcohol had always been seen as that sort of glamorous rock and roll rebellious thing. But actually the opposite is true. As you say, we're the rebellious ones going against the trends, right?
It's so true. And when you can reframe it that way, it actually feels really good. And I'm definitely, I mean, I think I have got some people pleasing, but I'm not generally a people pleaser. So I never felt like I needed to drink for anyone else. But I have definitely, it's incredible the number of clients I have when they're going through the process, how difficult it is for them to say no to a drink when they're out somewhere because they feel it's rude for someone to say no.
Yeah, or their family members. I've had clients who I mean, I had one client who her biggest concern was being with her family for Christmas or whatever it was. And you would think to yourself, surely, you know, you can tell your family what's going on. You don't have to tell them everything, but you can share what's going on and ask for their support. And in her case, one of her sisters spiked her drink. I mean, you couldn't make that up. Seriously.
Unbelievable. Yes. Well, I had a client who went out with his family and he told them what he was doing, and his brother got him a full strength beer instead of an alcohol-free beer on purpose and said, I don't buy alcohol-free beers.
Wow. Sometimes those closest to us can make it most difficult. Tell us what happened then around you were 46 when you got the breast cancer diagnosis. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so that was early on in my alcohol-free life, 6 weeks on, in fact. So
wow, what a shock.
2019 was a massive year for me. It's one of those years that I look back on and I go, wow, something in that year, it completely changed the whole trajectory of my life. So I see it as actually a gift.
Yeah.
I made the choice to stop drinking. I feel like that was some sort of message that I got to do that, to prepare myself before I got the breast cancer diagnosis. And so I found the lump in my breast. Again, it was like I got a message. I was in the shower getting ready for work. I was really sort of in busy mode. And it was like I heard this voice that said, stop, you must go and look at your body in the mirror straight away. And I walked over to this, I basically just bought this kind of new floor-to-wall mirror, and I went and looked at it, and my eyes, straight away, I could see that there was this puckered skin on the right side of my right breast, and there was a large lump protruding. And I just knew then and there that it was something serious. And then within 2 days, I had a diagnosis of an aggressive type of breast cancer, and I was sitting in the red chemo chair literally 3 or 4 days after that, and started a really intense period of treatment, of chemotherapy, of surgery, of radiation therapy, and of targeted therapy. And you know, even now, even as I hear myself say that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's actually me and what happened to me. But in that first week of diagnosis, in every other time of my life when I'd had a challenge or felt fear or pain or grief, I had always drunk.
Yeah, of course.
So this feeling of, oh, how do I deal with these uncomfortable emotions and feelings? Maybe I should drink. But it was just a flicker of a thought. And I very quickly moved to the best thing to do right now is stay sober. And then I started to ask questions about my lifestyle. Could my drinking possibly have contributed to my breast cancer diagnosis? Was there a link? I didn't know anything about alcohol and breast cancer. So that sent me down, you know, another path where I started to do a huge amount of my own research. And that's when I found this incredible website based out of America, Drink Less for Your Breasts. And it was all there. It was all there. And I
So
was like,
proven links.
proven links, moderate alcohol consumption increases our overall breast cancer risk by up to 20%. So, seven drinks a week, between 3 and 7 drinks a week, can increase our risk by up to 20%. So it's very minimal alcohol.
I mean, I guess that the link is there for any types of cancer. Is it specifically breast cancer, would you say, from your research?
This is specifically breast cancer. Yeah. Specifically breast cancer. So so this wasn't just regular cancer, because obviously alcohol is linked to 7 types of cancer.
Yeah.
Breast cancer is one of them. And so the figures that I'm talking about are specifically related to breast cancer. Yeah.
So here in the UK, I remember, I don't know if it's the same for you, but I remember Claire Pooley, the author, I'm sure you know Claire, talking about, she had a similar experience not very long after she'd stopped drinking. She also had a breast cancer diagnosis, and the oncologist gave her the diagnosis and then said, I think you should now go home and have a large glass of wine. I mean, that was actually the words. And I've heard other people say this. So in the UK, certainly then, a number of people within the medical profession most certainly do not make this link.
Absolutely, they don't. And I've found that in my own experience here in Australia, that I wasn't given any questions or messaging around alcohol and breast cancer. I wasn't asked about how much I'd drunk. I wasn't told that alcohol and drinking is one of only a couple of modifiable lifestyle factors that we.
So even moving forward,
over.
it wasn't recommended that you didn't drink, even moving forward?
No, not recommended.
Wow.
I mean, it was recommended
loosely
in the dietitian's advice that you drink,
you limit.
minimally.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
That was it, really. So there's a long way to go. And even the breast cancer charities here do not promote messaging on.
No, I absolutely the same in the UK. It's one of the reasons I find it really, really difficult to be able to support a lot of the cancer charities in the UK, and particularly the breast cancer charities. You absolutely can't support charities that all their cards and their messaging is around, cheers with a glass of prosecco. It's incredible, isn't it? So in addition to sort of raising awareness about that then, which is, amazing work, and it really needs to be said, doesn't it? It has to be out there. We can't keep this topic taboo. I mean, I think what's interesting is when I think back to when I was drinking, I was totally in denial. I was very, very healthy in all other ways, thank God. It's probably the only reason I'm still alive, but I was incredibly healthy. I was kind of queen of holistic living. And yet I was stepping around this huge elephant in the room that was alcohol. And yet I would justify that to myself as, well, everyone does it. It's my only vice, in inverted commas, all this nonsense. And I would love seeing the articles that came out in the press about how a glass of red wine is good for the heart. And I'd love all those BS alcohols, stories about alcohol. It's such absolute BS. And I loved them. I used to gather them up, and then I remember one article coming out that was by, and I think it was by Sally Davis, who is one of the, kind of political figures here in the UK linked to health. And she did this article, it was a long time ago, or she did this paper saying that, something like words to the effect of even one glass of alcohol can raise your risk of breast cancer. So she was right all those years ago. And I remember being incensed about this. Like, how dare she frighten women in this way? God, I now realize she was right. I was completely in denial. And of course, the alcohol industry and the governments who make plenty of money out of it would continue with this peddling. Of course they're going to do that. The messaging around it is just, oh my God. Anyways, so well done you for speaking about this. Yes, it has to be spoken,
I'm going to keep
doesn't
speaking about it because I'm passionate about it. And, breast cancer is one of the most prevalent cancers in the world. And the fact that only 20% of women know about
Yeah.
the link between breast cancer and alcohol, it's just ludicrous. And we need to have a big, massive public health campaign that addresses it.
Really do, because it's, it's an easy win. Not only is it an easy win, your life is going to be better, not worse. That's the thing, isn't it? And it drives me bonkers that there are a lot of women who have got perimenopausal symptoms, menopausal symptoms. They rock up to GPs in the UK. And they say, "Oh, I've got mood swings, got anxiety, got hot sweats, whatever," and they walk away with HRT, antidepressants, sometimes both, and they're never asked about their drinking, almost never. And yet that woman's going home with a box of pills and potentially a bottle of wine a night. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I feel like alcohol and its connection to mental health issues is never really addressed here.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
People go to their GPs with issues of anxiety and depression, and they are never really asked about their drinking. They're just given pills and sent on their way.
Yeah.
And again, there's such a huge opportunity here.
Yeah, absolutely. So well done you calling that out. And then you also are doing some work around corporates, don't you? You do some stuff in the workplace, which again is just starting in the UK, thankfully. People like Janet, who who's one of the coaches that I trained, is doing some fantastic stuff in the UK. And it sounds like you're doing something in Australia. Tell us about that work, because that's another really important place for it all to start, isn't it? In the workplace.
So what I realized through the clients and also the work that I've done in corporate is that there is a huge issue in workplace culture around drinking in Australia. And that a lot of my clients felt that their drinking had been sort of encouraged and enabled through
expected
workplace. And that as soon as there was an issue, that they were then told that it was a personal problem and they had to deal with it. There was no responsibility taken. There were no workplace policies around alcohol or behavior around alcohol. And so I thought to myself, there's a real opportunity here to go into workplaces and not tell them they have to quit drinking, but to start to educate them around, the issue of inclusivity in the workplace, and that the role that alcohol plays in that is very important, because there are lots of people coming into the workforce now who are sober curious, choosing not to drink for various reasons. And we need to be more creative about how we celebrate and what we do in workplace.
Yes,
rather
absolutely.
than just shouting, cocktails and having 4 hours at a bar. We need to start to think about, okay, how do we organize something that is inclusive for everyone, and also to share my story around my type of drinking, the type of drinker that I was, because I know that there are a lot of people who can relate to it. Putting my hand up and saying, I wasn't a rock bottom drinker, but I had a problematic relationship with alcohol, and you might have one too. And that it's okay to get support, and that as an employer, if you're here to support the whole person, and we have had a lot of stigma taken away with mental health issues in the workplace here in Australia. What about alcohol?
Yeah, absolutely.
Alcohol plays a huge role as well. And so I've developed this kind of campaign that's called Sip Smash, and it's really the webinars that I go in to corporates is really just about educating them around alcohol and its impact on the brain, the body, and our mental and physical health, how small changes to our drinking could actually impact our professional career in a
absolutely
positive way.
It's going to be a good thing, isn't it, for the employer when, he or she has got a workforce of people who, are actually well and resilient.
Well and resilient, productive, clear, less absent,
exactly, less, of
absenteeism.
course,
there's actually, you can't see how there couldn't be huge benefit for a workplace to do some more on this issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. Well, it sounds like you're doing some fantastic stuff. So yeah, keep going. Absolutely. And you're in Melbourne, aren't you?
I am. Yes, I'm in
Yeah.
the south. I'm in Melbourne.
I went there once. It was an awful long time ago. I'd love to come back to Australia. I really would.
You'll
If I
have to
make it
come,
out,
Janey.
we'll do something together. I'd really love to come back. It's been ages.
That would be amazing. You
Yeah,
should.
yeah. Well,
There's
thank you
great
so
sober
much.
community.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hear that. I hear that. I mean, this is what I hear from. I've got a couple of coaches who are out there, and this is what I hear that it really feels like you're at the start of something super exciting, which is brilliant, isn't it? It's really brilliant to be part of that
It is.
amazing trend. So yeah, just share your website with us where we can find more information, Kathryn.
Yeah, sure. My website is thealcoholmindsetcoach.com and my Instagram is at thealcoholmindsetcoach.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Janey. Loved our chat.
Thank you, Kathryn. We'll put those details in the show notes. And it's really interesting, isn't it? The conversation around the workplace well-being piece. Some of you know that I've co-authored a series of books, Stress to Calm in 7 minutes. The first one was for lawyers, and there was one for nurses. Now there's one for teachers. And particularly this latest book that Bev Densham and I have co-authored, we'd really love to do some workplace wellbeing sessions, because I think, teachers could really use some of these skills. And it would appear, I was actually quite shocked when I did some of the research for the book at the levels of stress. I mean, in the workplace generally, it's quite astonishing. The stuff that people told us anonymously in a survey that we did. But teachers especially, I was quite shocked. I suppose I had expected the legal profession and the nursing profession to be very stressful, but I hadn't recognised the extent of the kind of level of burnout and the really strong feeling of just absolute overwhelm and stress in the teaching profession, and the number of teachers that are over drinking, by the way. Many of them put that on their anonymous survey, that they literally were drinking to try to cope, with everything that's going on. So yeah, so that's just a little shout out that I'd love to do more work in that arena, maybe offering workplace wellbeing stuff for teachers or educational, establishments. So drop me a message if that's your area, if that's something you do. Just a reminder of our events then, Wednesday, 10th of April at Club Soda in London. I really hope you can come. It's quite small, so get your tickets quickly before they sell out. It'd be so lovely to meet some more podcast listeners, and a bunch of Sober Club members will be there, of course. And then on Saturday, 20th of April, tiny little one-day workshop where you will leave, really small group of people, because there's some one-to-one coaching in there as well. And you will leave with a proper magic map for what you want to create. So, call the vision board. So we'll do all of that, ditch some limiting beliefs. It'll be amazing to see you there. And then on Sunday, 21st of April, Family Constellation. So if you want to make a weekend of it, then drop me a message and I'll do a discount if you want to do both events. Got some very exciting news to come about some retreats in the future. Not quite got things firmed up yet, but at some point we'll be revealing all of that. Don't forget, I know I say this, but I'll say it again. If you are struggling, I know there's a lot of people that listen to the podcast. They don't, for whatever reason, they don't want to get involved in the Sober Club. I mean, I don't know why not. Please try it. You can join us for a month and then leave. It's not expensive. thesoberclub.com. But if you don't want to join us in the Sober Club, that it's entirely up to you how you get your connection, but get some connection, please. It's just absolutely key. With everything that's going on in the world, with everything that's going on for you in your life, whatever it is, you need connection. You need to be connected to like-minded people who've been there, done it, they've got the t-shirt, they know what you mean. The kind of things you go through, particularly in those early days and weeks, are really difficult to describe to someone who's not been there. They don't really understand. I remember so many little tiny niggles and thoughts that would go through my mind, and I couldn't share it with anyone really, because I didn't have the community, obviously, that I have now. It's one of the reasons I started it. So share it with someone. Either come on down and join us in the Sober Club, or if you don't want to do that, just drop me a message. I'll reply to as many messages as I possibly can. I'm absolutely there for you. I'd love to be able to hold that vision for you, hold you accountable, and give you that opportunity to know that there's somebody cheerleading you. That is really what we do in the Sober Club. So we cheerlead each other. And it's not just for stopping drinking. We've got members in the club who've been sober for 10 years, because there's always something new, right? There's always something that we want to focus on. And, we've been talking a lot in the club about self-love, self-care, of course, but we also often do stuff around nutrition and well-being and ditching the sugar and all kinds of stuff. Just about every topic is in there at one way or another. So do get that connection. It's so powerful. Doesn't have to be expensive. Of course, if you do want one-to-one coaching, that is incredibly powerful to move you from where you are to where you really want to be. And you can message me if you want some one-to-one coaching as well. But above all, don't hole up and try and do this completely by yourself. Reach out, let somebody else know that you're doing it. It can be a really big thing in the beginning. It really can. I do remember those days. I honestly do. I'm 6 years and 3 months sober, nearly, she says proudly. But I do remember those early weeks. I do remember when I was this stage, as it were, kind of nearly 3 months sober. And I remember feeling, I absolutely had that sense of excitement. I really did. But I didn't quite know who I was. I felt quite raw and really quite emotional. So I do remember that it can be an odd time. You're stepping into a whole new identity. You're stepping into the identity of someone you're not even quite sure who it is yet. But trust me, you're going to like yourself a lot more. So make sure you drop me a message. You know where to find me, at Janey Lee Grace, across social media. Go to thesoberclub.com. There's contact forms there. There's tells you how to join us. And of course, if you've got a recommendation for a guest for the podcast, you're welcome to let me know who that is. Connect me if you can. I've always said I'll carry on doing this work as long as I've got fantastic guests, and I'm definitely not running out anytime soon. Thank you again to Kathryn Elliott, who shared some fantastic stuff about her own story and about Australia. That was fascinating. I'd love to get out there at some point. Really hope that we can make that happen. I think I'm going to go and do a vision board, actually, and put some pictures of Australia on there. I'll do that on our day. Take care, and I'll see you same time next week. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by the Sober Club. Please rate and review. And if you want support, accountability and inspiration, and you want to live your best life without the booze, check out thesoberclub.com.